Bobby Johnson. Well done, Manchester United.
Beckham. Into Sheringham. And Solskjaer has won it. And it's saved it. United again. Ready. A magnificent goal by Robin van Persie.
Welcome to United Hour, your official Red Cafe podcast for all things Manchester United. I'm your host this week, Nick.
I'm Alex.
I'm Ed.
And I'm Ashwin.
Yeah, we've got a four-man panel today.
Wow.
First time for ages. I think we managed to get four of us on. Everybody obviously excited to talk about how badly we played against City. But no, yeah, thankfully we've got the good news is the Juve game and the bad news is the City game. And yeah, I think we've decided to start with the good news, right, guys?
Yeah.
So we can end on a depressing tone with the City game instead.
It's more therapeutic that way, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're recording on Wednesday, just at the start of international week. So yeah, another dead week. There's been way too many of these. What have we had one every month so far,
Yeah,
pretty much.
3 and it's not even Christmas, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. So yeah, and yeah, as well, when you lose the match, you kind of want your next match to come as quickly as possible. So yeah, it's even worse, really.
Yeah.
But look, like I say, let's start with the good news, because last time we recorded, we had actually come off a relatively good run of winning a few matches. But yeah, we weren't looking forward to the next two big away matches, away in Turin and away in Manchester. But yeah, we went out to Turin against Juventus, one of the Champions League favourites, and came back with the 3 points. And I mean, look, I was expecting absolutely nothing from this game, and I was actually pretty happy when it was looking like we might only lose 1-0. I thought that was actually quite a decent result.
You cynical bastard.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it was all turned around completely. Man. I think, Ed, you said what? You were quietly confident.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, it was in response to me saying, because I think on the podcast we were like, we all, no one fancies this, right? No one expects anything. No, there's no chance. And then as soon as the teams were lining up in the tunnel, I put in the WhatsApp group, quite fancy this, you know. Now it's here. Once the game comes upon you, you start getting a feeling and a bit of belief, right? Because it's so. You don't want to go into a game thinking you're going to lose, like I did on Sunday. That's just depressing, and I think Ed's the same.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I predicted 2-1, just in the wrong match.
But Ed, did you actually see this? Our greatest comeback.
No, I fell asleep after the Ronaldo goal because I thought that was it, to be honest.
So you're all excited in like the first half and didn't even manage to see the rest of it. Well done.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just that's how confident I was. I thought, you know what, they don't need me watching now. They'll just sort it out.
But yeah, I've seen quite a lot of reporting of this match as if it was like a total smash and grab, and it's actually a little bit unfair because I thought we actually played pretty decently all through the game. I mean, all right, Juventus did play better and had the better chances, but if you look at the possession, it was relatively even, and especially at the start of the game, after we've just had awful starts every single match, I thought we actually started this game really well. It was like the best start we'd had in ages, and like the first 15-20 minutes we were even on top out there. I think Juventus were pretty surprised themselves, as maybe a lot of people had been expecting that we were just going to sit back and maybe play for a draw.
We were pressing high.
I think we did play for a draw, really, and came out with the win.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's playing the percentages, playing for a draw with the hopes of nicking a win, right? That's always the plan, I think.
Yeah.
In those sort of games, which is fair enough. I mean, I think you're right, Nick, that we didn't necessarily sit deep and just contain. Like there was some pressing, but it did. Let's be fair. It did also come at the cost of almost no chances. So it was well in terms of, for the most part, keeping them at bay and winning the ball at the pitch, but we were never able to actually do anything with the ball once we won it.
No, I think because we were only having about 4 players attacking at any one time, maybe 5 with a full-back.
Yeah, we did have some good. It's true, we had a lot of good kind of possession and positions, but we didn't, create enough chances. Whereas, Juventus did have. I mean, we were quite lucky that they missed 1 or 2 quite open chances, and then obviously it was went in at half time, and I guess we were all pretty happy to be 0-0. I mean, I actually watched this one in the pub with old Red Cafe hero Noodle Hair. And he's always one of the most depressing guys to watch games with. But yeah, this was one of the most cheery he's been for a long time, and we were both pretty happy really just to get to half time and be 0-0. Maybe we were lucky, but yeah, I wouldn't say, like I say, the possession and everything, that it was kind of back and forth, and we started well, and they did come slowly into the game. I think it was it Dybala missed a pretty easy chance.
It was Kadira, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Kadira.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Kadira.
you're right. Yeah, it was Dybala hit the post later on, the crossbar.
There's nothing wrong with being lucky, though. To win these tournaments, you have to ride your luck. Not that I think we're going to win it, but that's the kind of performance you expect.
Juventus hadn't lost there in Europe, I think, in 9 years. So, to win there, you're gonna have to get. I don't even like talking about us getting lucky, because I think anytime you go, it doesn't matter how good your squad is. Anytime you go to one of these big European sides and you're away, and when you're away at their on their pitch, like, you have to get a little bit lucky. Even Ferguson, when he won title, he got lucky. It's not like there was no luck involved in it. Like, even any team that wins the Champions League, it's a knockout tournament, right? Like, you have to get lucky at some stage, and to get results in some of these places, you have to get lucky. So it's not just about getting lucky. It's okay, you're lucky, but what did you do with your luck? Did you do anything with your luck? Did you take advantage of that? Because like last year, we were lucky to come out of Sevilla away 0-0, but we didn't do anything with that luck, right? We didn't take advantage of that. So to go to Juventus and take advantage of our luck, the fact that they weren't clinical in front of goal, these are the exact kind of results. If we had gone there and dominated, but didn't put away chances and came out on the wrong end of it, I'm sure that this would have all been Mourinho's fault, and it would have been Jose's fault, and it would have been some huge, reflection of his management. But ultimately, when you get lucky, you have to take advantage of it, and we did. So, 0-0 at halftime, I thought was maybe not fair, but it wasn't as if they had played us off the park.
No, it wasn't like the first leg where they absolutely dominated, and I think even that leg, the half-time possession was something crazy. Like, I don't know, it might have even been like 70-30 or something, man.
I think it was worse than that.
At home.
I think it was worse than that. I think it was like 73-27 or something.
Exactly.
The performance in Turin was the performance I was expecting at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it is weird, and they must absolutely hate us in Turin, because it's actually 3 times in a row now we've gone away over there and beat them over there, in one of on paper the most difficult matches in the whole of Europe. So yeah, I was going to say a lucky ground for us, but I think in that time they have actually changed grounds, so it's not been the same ground each time.
I guess like what one thing that you could say though is that I think you're right in that this is maybe the performance you'd expect at Old Trafford, but then the atmosphere, the crowd, the expectation at Old Trafford doesn't really align to that sort of play. I remember Nick coming to you, coming with you to the game against Manchester City in Mourinho and Pep's first season, where we lost 2-1 at home, and a moment will always stick with me when the ball was kind of loose in their corner, and Bravo goes towards it, hoofs it up, and Kevin De Bruyne scores. But just before that kick from the keeper, the ball was there to be won and to be had by Mkhitaryan, and the fans were cheering and gearing him to go and get it, because that's what you do at home, and that's what the fans expect. But clearly he'd been told to hold his position and to stick back and to contain, and he didn't, and it was really awkward. And it was just quite clear that the atmosphere and the expectation from the crowd doesn't really work well with that sort of game style. Whereas away in Europe, acting as the underdogs, where no result is expected, where you can come out of it looking positive by simply containing and taking advantage of a bit of luck. That's kind of peak Mourinho, right? That's the Mourinho that we've seen when Champions League with Inter. That's the blueprint that Mourinho's come up with in the past. So it was kind of perfect for him to go and get that result, I guess.
Yeah, Mourinho does often thrive on being the underdog, and it's often when you're expected to do better that it doesn't seem to happen. I mean, looking at the game itself, of course, we said we had quite a lot of possession for an away game in Europe, but didn't create too much. And I think a lot of that was down to the fact that Pogba didn't have a great game. I think maybe the occasion got to him a bit much going back to
Well, he was
Turin.
injured too.
Yeah.
He was injured in the match.
Yeah, we maybe wasn't fully fit, but I do also think it was one of those games where sometimes it looked like he was trying a bit too hard to like make something, and he does that sometimes. And it's something that you sometimes saw with players like Rooney as well, where
Gerrard,
yeah.
instead of just trying to do the simple things and doing it well or whatever, they're trying to do something, to pull a worldy pass off here and there or beat too many players.
Ronaldo used to be like that, right? I think that Champions League final against Barcelona, once Barcelona had scored, Eto'o had scored under Van der Sar. Whenever Ronaldo got the ball, he just started shooting or playing a Hollywood pass. I think it's
exactly.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think he has shown some maturity. There are games where he's very much not done that recently, like Newcastle, for example. But perhaps the fact that it was at the ground where he last was, and there was that extra pressure because of that, plus the fact that he's injured. And I think when players have some slight knock and they're not feeling at the top of the game, they're not necessarily playing on instinct. That can have a factor as well, like mentally and in terms of how they approach the game.
But yeah, looking back, and like you say, you mentioned Ronaldo, and of course he scored a pretty stunning goal coming over his shoulder, banging it in. I don't know if you blame Lindelof at all there for letting him in, or you just think it's a great finish?
It's a fantastic finish, isn't it?
The pass was amazing too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna blame anyone, you'd probably blame, I don't know, maybe Sanchez or Martial for not pressing Bonucci there. But even then, I just think it was a great goal. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of times people are so into finding who is to blame, and sometimes you just get beat. And that was I don't know, it would be really harsh, I think, to blame anybody for it, and I didn't.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, fair enough. And like I say, Lindelof's actually been playing pretty well recently, so yeah, be a bit harsh on him. I did see actually that he's just been voted Swedish Player of the Year. And I think they said that the 10 previous years it had been Zlatan.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that because Zlatan retired?
Yeah,
he's still playing. Don't knock the MLS, all right?
Yeah.
Still going on out there. But yeah, so look, we were 1 down, made the couple of changes straight away. I was actually slightly disappointed that Marcus Rashford didn't start this game. I think it was something we talked about last time. And Alex, you said you didn't think he would, and that he'd been dropped for not being good enough previously. And Sanchez started. I thought Sanchez did not do a great deal, really.
I thought he was good against Juventus, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought like in terms of leading from the front with that press that we've spoken about, I thought he did that job very well, and I think that's.
I kind of just don't like him playing that central position.
Yeah, I don't think that Rashford can do that element of that role better than Sanchez can.
He linked up really well too.
Yeah,
I thought he was good.
Yeah,
I think he does all right dropping. I just don't. Basically, I think it's actually that I was hoping with Lukaku out that I really wanted to see Rashford get a run of games, be given a chance to 2-3 matches, and then if he doesn't do it, then fair enough. But when he's thrown in for one game here and there, and then people say he's not good enough, I think it's a bit harsh because you see like a player like Martial who was given a chance to finally go in what we think is his best position, and he's delivered before being moved around. And yeah, I wanted to see the same happen with Rashford. So yeah, like I say, I was not that happy to see Sanchez start up there. Yeah, maybe I'm being a bit harsh that he wasn't great or whatever.
I'm sort of the opposite. I don't think Rashford has proved himself yet. In any position really. He's been fantastic on occasions, but at the same time, he's also been fairly inconsistent and sometimes a little bit frustrating. So I can sort of see why he necessarily doesn't get the nod ahead of other players at the moment.
Yeah, but I do think that under Mourinho, he's never had a run at centre forward.
Has he commanded one when he has though?
But you play one match, like it's not enough to be.
I think he has had more runs than Martial's ever had up front.
No, when has Rashford ever played 2 or 3 matches in a row up front under
Mourinho? When Ibra was injured,
a
few times.
And I'm not saying I don't think he's good enough. I do think he's good enough, and he has the potential to be good enough. But at the moment, I don't think he's at this level that you perhaps think he is, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I still remember those days in big matches as well, and yeah, even last season against Liverpool and matches like that. And I just think I think that if he's given a chance to play up front, I think that he will deliver.
Yeah, is there a like, because I've always very much been of the belief that Rashford, I don't think he's got as much potential as some people, but I do think he's got the potential to be a very very good player. And I guess I've always thought he can be of value to have in the squad and off the bench and covering, and he can play a few positions. He's a great wild card to have, all that sort of stuff. Fantastic, but is there a top striker who's worked their way through a top club in recent memory without going out on loans? If I feel like if you go through the list of all the strikers who are getting 20 goals plus a season at the big teams across Europe, they've had to, even if they've been at the big clubs in their youth, like Harry Kane at Tottenham, if we're calling them a big club, and people like that, they've had to go out on loan to make it work. Obviously, Lukaku was at Chelsea, but went to West Brom, went to Everton.
Yeah, it's true. He came in,
Kane,
earlier than expected under Van Gaal, and yeah, you're right. Probably normally around that time he would have been given chances elsewhere.
as much as he can provide value, do we think for his actual long-term chances of reaching his potential, do we feel like it is right that he doesn't go on loan?
Well, now it's too late. He can't go on loan now. Should have
Why?
happened like 2 years ago. If it
He's
was
like
gonna happen.
21. No, he's like 21. I think Kane was like a lot of players aren't really doing is still.
No, but not after having like 2-3 seasons of being like a main part of the match.
But what
day
about
squad.
someone like Everton?
Well, it's difficult to say though, because if he goes on loan, is that not him sort of losing his place in the team?
Yeah, if he goes on loan now, it's over for him. It's too late for him to go on loan. He's been like part of the match day squad for 2 or 3 years. You can't then start sending a player out on loan.
Why not?
Not just that. I just can't imagine our club the way it's run. I just can't imagine them wanting to send Rashford, who's kind of like this golden boy youth academy walking poster for them, to be sent on loan. I just can't. I can't see it. And I definitely don't think
no chance
Mourinho will do it, because he knows if he does it, it'll immediately lead to discussion about how he destroys little kids.
I'm not asking from a PR perspective whether it would be good. I'm not asking from a marketing perspective, and I'm also not asking whether it's realistic just from like a typical policy and how things run. I'm just saying, do we feel like that would be of benefit, and do we feel that us keeping up the club could hold his development back? Because as much as I think he plays quite a lot of minutes.
Alex, the answer is no. It's not of benefit. Let's
Well,
move on.
I don't know.
I think you're wrong. Like,
Well,
what's he?
it's
What I'd
not
like, I like. Tell me one other striker who's played through a club of United size and is then a top striker who hasn't had to go on loan.
Mbappe.
No.
Well, no, he worked up to Monaco and then he's gone to PSG. It's not the same, is
That's
it?
not the
And
same.
he was scoring like 6 goals in the Champions League in the knockout stages, and then
Yeah, no, look, I do actually agree with you that his route has been the standard route. But nowadays as well, I do have big question marks over the whole loan thing in general. Things seem to have changed quite a bit.
I just think like someone like Everton.
Well, I don't. I think it can't go to a Premier League club.
Anyway, listen, I don't even know why we're talking about this. Marcus Rashford is not going on loan anywhere. End of fucking story. Yeah.
Hold on.
So like, let's get back to the
Does
match.
he make it? Does he make it? Does he make it?
5 minutes to go in Turin. It's Mata. Oh, and it's in! It's floated in brilliantly by Juan Mata. His 3rd goal of the season. And is that the goal to earn Manchester United a priceless Champions League point in Turin?
I don't think there was that much doubt on who was going to take it. I think there was just Ashley Young there. Juan Mata, Pogba hadn't even tried to approach it. And yeah, bangs in another absolutely beauty goal at the absolutely perfect time. Same as he's done against Newcastle just a couple of weeks before.
Yeah, the build up to that goal is actually really good too. I think Fellaini was really close to laying it off to Martial after him and Sanchez had kind of worked in together. I don't know if it was Sanchez. I don't remember who it was, but Martial had worked, I think maybe with Pogba and on somebody else to.
Yeah, Sanchez had gone off already because he went off for Mata.
Yeah. I don't remember who it was, but they had kind of worked in a really nice bit of possession, and then Martial had played it into Fellaini. He was making a run, Fellaini's layoff was a little bit off. He was under pressure, and then luckily Pogba was on the edge of the box, and he drew the foul. But I mean, it was just that period of play was really good, and it was just not that you ever deserved to score a goal, but it was nice to see Mata convert on that because I thought we had played well enough to at least deserve a goal, if not the points. But yeah, I mean, it was just a great free kick. It was just as soon as it left his foot, you kind of felt.
Yeah, he was already turning around and celebrating before it hit the back of the net.
I agree that considering our status as a club right now and Juventus' status and considering the form, like it was a good performance and it's fine that we rode our luck, but to create absolutely nothing and then to say that we deserved a goal as a result of the defensive work just feels very much like those games where United have 30 goals, hit the post 2 times, the keeper has a magnificent game, the other team has one scrappy chance that they convert and they're called deserving of that, and I just don't really see it. Not I feel like it's as if the difference between Juventus and Manchester United in our heads is bigger than a United and Brighton who we lost to, or a Derby that we lost to, or whoever else.
Well, at the moment it is that big.
Fair enough.
I mean, yeah, that's what we kind of talked about, last week, right? About how even though we've spent more money even than Juventus, we're obviously nowhere near their kind of level at the moment. And
well, if you just compared the starting 11s for both teams, how many players would it was? I mean, I remember looking at it before the match.
No. We had this conversation though. We had this conversation on the last podcast.
I agree.
Actually, the majority of the Juventus players, majority of United fans, and I'm sure even the manager and Woodward wouldn't have even wanted Quadrado, for example.
Yeah.
Bonucci, Chiellini, Ronaldo, Dybala, fine. Four and maybe 5 with Pjanic. Other than that, Khedira people wouldn't have wanted. Szczesny definitely not. Like, there's a lot of players in that team that player for player on paper, I don't think that would necessarily, in isolation, would get into United's team for their performances for Juventus. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't actually think it's about the Juventus players. I think it's just about how they've played as a system and as a team over several years and been winning for years.
I just don't know why it matters what our board thinks, because our board cannot evaluate players properly or how they fit together.
Fine. I mean, it was one point of many. What I'm saying is that if you compare the 2 11s on paper, I disagree that Juventus is particularly far and away from United. If anything, I think if you were to look at individual by individual, and definitely before they joined their clubs or maybe over the summer even, I don't think that Juventus would necessarily even come out on top or not by a long way, as names go anyway.
I think I agree with that.
No, yeah, I kind of agree with that as well. But like I say, Juventus they've been in a winning run for years. Champions League finals, league titles. So it's not about the players; it's about the team and the club and where they're at compared to where we've been in kind of struggling phase for a few years now.
That's like saying Celtic are on the same level as United or above us. They've been
no. Celtic have not been in Champions League finals.
No, but
they don't even get in the Champions League.
The league since year dot.
Yeah, but I didn't say that. I said Champions League finals. So don't start bringing Celtic.
My point is, Juventus are in a one-team league now.
No, that's not.
I'm talking about the Champions.
They've made it a one-team league. Napoli is actually like a good team. They're a good side. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that their league is necessarily as competitive as, say, I don't know, England or Spain even, but they've made it a one-team league because of how dominant they are, because of how consistently good they are, how they recruit, how they fit players into their club. They have a clear understand. Like, when they sign a player, it seems that they sign a player with a clear understanding of how they're going to fit into how they want to play and how they will. Like, to me, when you look at, like, the best clubs all have this, where when they sign a player, there seems to be a clear idea of how they're going to fit into what they want to do. And then if you compare that, so maybe you're right that, if you just go by name, position by position, they're not that much better. But, like, the collective, how they've put their group together is so much more cohesive, and it just creates like a better environment for all these players to thrive. Whereas it seems like there's just no cohesive thought process into how we're fitting players in, and so
I think we'd all agree on that.
Yeah, and in fact, if you look straight at this summer, just looking at two midfielders, I think Juventus have bought in Bentancur, the Uruguayan, and he's fit straight in there. Looks pretty good. Whereas we spent actually more on Fred, and we're still not really sure where he's going to be in the team. Is he in the team? Is he on the bench? And probably we paid more money for him. And I think that kind of just shows in this the past summer alone. Two midfielders that have come in from South American countries and what difference it makes.
But the difference is it's easier for Juventus to integrate players into a team when they know they're going to be winning, 3 games on the trot.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and they can monopolise the league, and that Higuain's Napoli, their closest rival's top scorer, scoring 30 goals. They buy him. Pjanic was at where was Pjanic? Was it Inter before Juventus or wherever? They can do that. Bonucci obviously come back from AC Milan after leaving, etc. So yeah, you're right. There are definitely some advantages, but like I agree with Ashwin in that even like the managerial changes moving from Conte to Allegri, there's clearly some consistency in style and pragmatism and whatnot there. So yeah, I'm not as a club. And like in terms of the sum of its parts, I agree that there's a huge gap between us and them. I'm just saying that I worry that sometimes we overcorrect or we've got such low expectations that we're overhyping what was a good performance to stay in the game and to ride our luck against a top team in Europe. But in terms of like deserving a draw or the win, like I'm not sure about that.
that actually speaks to something we talked about on the last podcast too, where we were saying that we've signed all these players who seem like they would fit much better in a more proactive, like higher pressing system, and
Sure.
and instead, like all of our, it just seems like our entire setup, like with Fred, like again, he's like the perfect example because he was this pressing midfielder at Shakhtar, and we signed him, and then it's like he starts pressing, and it seems as if Mourinho like can't believe he's pressing, so now he's out of the side because he has this natural inclination to press. But then it's like, okay, well then why did you sign him? Because that's the player. Like this, again, like cohesive transfer strategy. If you don't want to press, don't sign a press. Like then get a different midfielder because that's what he does. That is his strength as a player.
But Manchester City wanted him, so kind of had to, right?
Anyway, listen, let's go back to the fact that we won this game. Yeah, it was a fucking brilliant win, right? Yeah, let's not forget we won this game. We got 3 points, which actually, is going to be huge because we were a bit worried about Champions League. We were still, it was in the balance. We were going to have a big game basically away in Valencia, but now. It's still a big game, but maybe there's a bit more of a cushion now that we get these points. I mean, I would still probably think Juventus are going to win the group, and but now we're hot favourites to be second with these 3 points. We've got Young Boys next, and it's our last game, which will probably be the decider, I reckon, for second, third place.
I'm pretty sure Martin Kieran asked if it was our most important ever victory or something like that, or in the Champions League, something ridiculous. It's like, what? Yeah, it's in the context of where we are, sure, but it's still, I mean, it's a group game for a start.
Maybe in the context of the 2017, or was it 2018-2019 season, it is probably the most important game in the Champions League, but ever? 1999, possibly? Or what about that time we pumped Arsenal, 4-2?
No, I don't think this will even come in like the top 10 or something.
It is a group game, though.
But yeah, like I say, talking about where we've been in the Champions League and matches we've had since, the Champions League started, and it's nowhere near there, basically. There was a bit of hoo-ha at the end there where Jose caused a bit of trouble with their fans. I think, one of the fans who give the most abuse out of him back into him for his old Inter days, and he loves to play it back again. It was after Jose got pretty pissed off when the Chelsea lads started running around with their last-minute goal. It's quite hypocritical for him to kind of do the same thing, but I do say I kind of like it, and don't have any issue with him doing things like that, to be honest. That's kind of the bad side of Jose I actually like to see.
The funniest part about that, though, was when he was doing that, the guy that initially, kind of came at him was Bonucci, which is hilarious because this guy left for Milan last summer.
Yeah.
Then he came running back, and I was like
That
defending.
celebration.
It's just I just thought that was hilarious. It's like
Yeah, he did like an Adebayor against Arsenal, didn't he? And then now he's come back to Juve and he's taken issue. But I mean, Mourinho loves that number, right? My God, like you wonder if he dreams the number 3, or like I've never seen anything. There's every context and every situation. The number that comes back out is 3. Like whether it's titles he's won, whether it's the fact he's won a treble, whether it's the treble that he won with United, including
3-year
the
meltdown.
Shield. 3-year meltdown. It's his favourite number. Yeah.
I think we should talk about Martial because he was dominant in that match. I thought he was fantastic.
He was really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
To show up in a big game against a fantastic defense and defenders who play with confidence.
And he was doing all the stuff that Mourinho loves his attackers to do, which I think was like that was the big takeaway for me in that match, is that he was, I remember talking about or listening to Carragher and Neville talking about, what do you do when you're not scoring goals? What do you do? How do you help the team? And that was a match where he didn't score a goal. He didn't assist a goal, but anybody that watched it would tell you that he was, for United by far and away the best player on the pitch, and it was because of everything. It was a total performance, a complete performance. When he received the ball in our half, he was able to get away from multiple defenders who were pressing him. If he needed to track back, he was tracking back. I think he won a possession of the ball 6 times in our own half or something. That's the kind of work, when you do stuff like that, Mourinho is going to keep picking you. Like, he is going to keep picking you. And I'm not saying that needs to be the standard of how we judge attackers. It definitely shouldn't be. But nonetheless, it's still good to see. And, even under Ferguson, right, I remember he would always pick Valencia, or often would pick Valencia over Nani on the right in big matches because he would do the work, or Park over more attacking flair players because he could trust them to do the work in big matches. So that stuff does matter, and obviously the fact that he coupled that with just dominate. I think I can't say it in any other way. He really did dominate, I thought, in an attacking sense. Everything good that we did in possession came through him. Everything that I know that we didn't create anything, but anything that we came close to creating came through him. So, and he even won the free kick to set up the winner by drawing in Barzagli. So
it was how direct he was in the against a team like that at their ground with the fans behind them. He was still happy to megs them and put it through their legs and to take them on. He wasn't scared of doing that and afraid of losing the ball. He was very much putting them on the back foot and giving them something to think about, which really did drive us forward. So yeah, I agree.
No, definitely, and look, he's totally locked in on that side now. I think we said best scoring run for a while. What was it? First player in years to score 5 goals in a row. That's more in the Premier League side, of course. So yeah, and although Alex, I know you don't want to, but yeah, we are going to have to talk about this City game, unfortunately. Yeah, I guess people didn't expect, we weren't expecting much when we talked about it last week on the pod. But after you win in Juventus, on often a winning run, then you're kind of hoping that maybe we'll pull out something from somewhere. Plus, we had a pretty good run over at their stadium, and I think it'd been 3 years without a loss now, right? We won 3-2 last year. I think it was 0-0 in Mourinho's first season, and then Van Gaal won his last game over there as well. So yeah, it actually been a while since we'd lost to them away. But I'm sure you all probably had the same feeling as me that when it was announced Pogba was not in the squad, that I just thought, we were going to have zero chance.
It's important for us in many aspects of the game because we didn't play. We had to play Fellaini. Fellaini was not ready to play for 90 minutes. I can just imagine when the result was 2-1 to bring a fresh Fellaini to the pitch. I think they would be in big trouble. But when the result was 2-1 and we had that final push, was the moment Fellaini was doing an incredible effort to stay on the pitch So yes, for different reasons we miss Paul, but that doesn't mean that with Paul we win the game. So it's not an excuse.
We see as soon as Pogba's out of the team, we're just creating nothing. I mean, or do you put that down more to the players who came in instead of him? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the midfield that was picked, basically 3 defensive midfielders in a way: Matic, Fellaini, Herrera.
It gave us no chance. Picking that midfield, basically, it determined exactly. Once you saw that midfield, the only way we were going to get points, it's just to sit back, soak up pressure, maybe get a 0-0. Hopefully, maybe you get a set piece and score a goal, and that was it. And it was even I don't know if you guys. I don't think you guys have the same announcers that we do for that, because I had to listen to Lee Dixon and some other. God, they're the worst. But they were saying, I don't know if they commented it on your street or on your feed also.
I think we had Gary Neville for this match, wasn't it?
Throughout the match, Herrera was awful in possession, which we'll get to. But they kept talking about. They mentioned this multiple times, how Herrera would get the ball, Matic would get the ball, and they mentioned multiple times Martial would make runs past the last man, Rashford would make runs, and they just were not playing. They weren't even attempting to play those passes, and so of course they weren't going to make those passes, because that's not the players they are.
Herrera can be.
He can be, but I feel like he only makes that one pass on the inside right channel when the striker gets in between the center half and the fullback. That pass he made against Chelsea, basically. That's the pass he always makes, and he's great at that pass. But he doesn't. I don't feel like he plays very good balls over the top, across, maybe into different areas of the pitch, maybe out wide or whatever. It's hard to describe it, but those are the passes where I don't know if Pereira or Fred would have connected on those passes, but I do think they would have tried to make those passes. And I just think that when you put out Matic and Fellaini and Herrera, you're just limiting your ability to even create chances so much that it's I don't know. It was really depressing to see that midfield come out, even though I kind of expected it.
Not even just though, from I completely agree in terms of a ceiling for passes, but also an ability to retain and pass the ball under pressure, and also just in terms of general mobility and in keeping up with a team that are one of the most dynamic teams we've seen, unfortunately, that you've got an incredibly immobile midfield just made absolutely no sense at all. It was just ridiculous. And to be honest, I don't know, Nick, whether not playing that midfield would have particularly increased our chances. Like you mentioned earlier, around being happy for it only to be 1-0 from Juventus, and the difference between us. I think City are on another level to even them, and unfortunately, the gap between United and City is huge. So I don't know whether it would have made a difference, but it definitely feels like it might have, and it just felt very immature or nascent in tactics, if that makes sense. I.e., City have got the little nippy, quick-footed players, so we're going to have the tall, lumpy fellas in there to combat them, just an opposites day sort of way of approaching the game. And obviously, Mourinho, as a tactician, forgets more in 5 minutes of sleep than I know. But even so, it just felt so basic, if that makes sense.
It really felt like watching a manager whose ideas are just outdated, because I maybe when he first came into the Premier League, when he first came after Porto, he built this very strong, powerful side, and sure, they had Essien, who was smaller, but all their players are very powerful. It felt like, anyway, down the spine, they're very powerful players, and it feels like he's still trying to force that type of team to happen. And in certain positions, of course, you can. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a powerful striker, or obviously a player like Pogba, who is powerful but has great skill on the ball, and he can do a lot of skillful things. Obviously, there's no problem with that. But when your resort, when Pogba is out, is to go with this kind of hulking, just trying to overpower. It felt like he was trying to overpower City's more dynamic, smaller playmakers, and they couldn't even get close to them. They just couldn't even get close to them, and it was just, I don't know, it was just extremely frustrating to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some crazy stats being thrown around everywhere, aren't they? And I mean, that one that everybody's seen was about at the point that City took the lead in this game, we'd only attempted 11 passes, which only not even half of those had been successful. In the same amount of time, City had made 104 passes with a 92% accuracy.
It's an absolute joke. That is. I'm sorry, but that is just an absolute joke. And
Yeah.
And then the other one that everybody's been, like talking about just there was the last goal, where we leave them to have 44 passes on the way to scoring, killing the match basically, and that for me was even worse because at that point we've actually got back into the game, and that that somebody's not even just taking a foul for the hell of it just to stop them.
Why don't we I don't understand. City. One of the traits that makes them so great is that as soon as they lose the ball, they're straight back at you, and they are happy to share the fouls around, to distribute them, to basically keep the ball up the pitch and make sure that, and also they make sure that you're not able to take quick free kicks. They make sure that they get in front of that or they kick the ball away. Is that not Mourinho blueprint? I'm sure the sharing and distribution of fouls and slowing the game down and keeping the ball away from it. I swear that that's something that Mourinho very much was one of the key proprietors of and brought that to the Premier League. But yet United just step back from everyone. We just let them run at us and run at us and run at us and pass it through us. And it doesn't matter if we're playing City or if we're playing Bournemouth. I don't understand why no one ever gets their foot in. It's so strange.
Yeah, no, it is strange because, like you say, if you have that kind of midfield, then the one benefit of it should it be that they're sticking that foot in and saying, "Yeah, look, you're not going past me, whatever happens, whether it's fair means or foul."
None of it made sense to me because if you're gonna play, if you want to play this sit in your own half and kind of hit them on the counter style, it seems so bizarre to me to pick Rashford up top and Lingard on the right because those are players that I think they're so much more suited to pressing. It's just I understand that Lukaku probably wasn't ready to play 90 minutes and he probably shouldn't have played 90 minutes anyway, even if he was. But I just don't you have to adjust your tactics. I understand that's not his comfort zone, but sometimes you have to understand what you're working with and kind of adjust what you want to do versus what the strengths of your players that are available can do. And to me, it just feels like that rarely happens. And the only time it does happen is when we are losing, and then all of a sudden, we have to chase the game, and then we start pressing higher and stuff like that. And it's just frustrating. I don't know.
I don't know about you guys, but I thought actually our front three were supposed to be pressing because Rashford was visibly frustrated quite a few times when he was the only one getting high up the pitch, close to the City defenders or furthest back midfielder, and he got absolutely no support from either the other attackers or from any midfielders.
Yeah, it's difficult to know because Mourinho is 100% the sort of manager who would have happily said, right, you front three press, or even just Rashford, you press, just in the hope that you can win that one ball off them, as Liverpool have done against them a few times, and then you're in a one-on-one chance, and that's it. But it was quite clear to me that he hadn't told the midfield to press, and if he had, then he picked the complete wrong tools for the job. Because again, why would you have the most immobile players pressing the most mobile and adept players in the league? And as soon as you try and half press against City, they just walk circles around you. You have to fully commit to it and do it well, or don't do it at all, because they have absolutely no problem at passing between the lines, and they just make it look so easy. All these games against City that we've had under Mourinho, well, I guess since Guardiola's been there, it just looks like they never really get out of second gear.
But we don't actually have that bad results against them.
Well, at home we've lost both times.
Yeah, and then we've had one
we
draw.
We drew 0-0. Yeah, we drew 0-0, but they had the game, right? And
true.
But I think we actually had the best chance in that game, though.
And last
Missed us.
year, last year, the year that's more important, because the first year, obviously, both managers and teams were still sort of settling into things. But last year, yeah, we won, and it was a great win. Don't get me wrong, but they could have been 5-0 up at half time.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we basically scored every chance we had, and even after we were up, they missed it. And I'm not trying to take away from our win. I'm just saying.
No, I think we
you
talked
know,
about it at the time. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. It's totally true, and they were just shocked at how we managed to come back in that one last
Yeah.
year. But yeah, I mean, again, this match, it makes you think a lot about the bigger picture, about our transfer policy. Players were coming in because apparently, we've beaten City to buy Alexis Sanchez, but he's sitting on the bench, whereas their second choice, Mahrez, is playing and assisting goals in this game over here. And then also, apparently we've taken Fred when they wanted him again. He doesn't start this game. He's sat on the bench. I think I saw some stat about how many players that we had started would actually been bought in by Jose.
2.
And yeah, exactly. Like 2, is it 2? Yeah.
Yeah.
Matic
And
and
Lindelof.
Lindelof, and that was it, right? All the
Yeah.
rest were already there. Matic and Lindelof. Whereas, City, I mean, half of that team, they did have quite a few good players already, of course, but half of that team has been bought in by Pep. So there's a big difference there where, all right, we've made several signings, but for one reason or another, they're not in the team. And Mourinho's still playing a lot of the players who were there from before, whereas Pep's bought a whole new team, and at least half of them are playing over there. The comparisons, but managers who've come in at the same time all the way through, and where we were hoping that this season we could get closer to City, right? That's what we talked about pre-season, saying that after we have come second last year, even though there's a big gap, that the big aim has to be that even if we don't close the gap completely, that we have to at least be closer to them. But if anything, do we feel like we're further away?
100%. It's not even a question.
Absolutely further away.
Miles away now, right? We were second last year. We're what, 8th at the moment?
Yeah, the table.
Well, it's not even about positions. It's
points as well. They're like one thing I was sure of though was I thought, how can City be better this season? Like, I just don't see them keeping that intensity up. But they've been incredible. They've, like I said on the podcast last week, they've conceded less goals than we have from set pieces. And it's not even like they're conceding chances. They're just so strong in every area of the pitch. And as you mentioned, the key point for us was Pogba was missing, and that ruined all our chances. Where was De Bruyne? But it doesn't matter, does it?
No.
Sane was on the bench. It's the riches that they have in that squad is just incredible.
But still, even you're right. And even though as bad as we were and whatever, we still did manage to come back in this game. And although they dominated, we
scored a goal, Nick.
One shot.
Well, look, we were 1-0 at half time. Could have been worse, but it was terrible. You hoped as well that 1-0 that he's going to do something at half time. We're going to come out better, but to throw away a goal 2 minutes into the second half was absolutely embarrassing.
A mistake from De Gea as well, right?
But still, we managed to come back in this game at 2-1. You must think that the City players start thinking back to last season. It's got to have given them some doubt, and that was the real killer for me. After coming back, even though whether it was lucky, we didn't deserve it or whatever, we still did come back to 2-1. But it was after that where we really didn't create much, and we didn't really go for anything. You just said after that, look, just let us have 1 or 2 more chances to at least, even if we will call it a smash and grab. Like I said, I didn't agree with that for the Juventus one, but that one would have been. I think 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, Mata Sanchez came in, and it didn't really make much difference, really, did it? And
it's what Ashwin was saying earlier about what you do with your luck, right? We didn't deserve to get a goal back in that game, and it was the one shot we had on target all game was a penalty. But like you said, we were back in it, and at that point, Mourinho and the players need to recognise, right, this is the potential crux, the potential turning point in the game. If anything, if we're going to get anything from this game, we need to push on that now and capitalise on that now and really start turning the screw and turning the heat up on City. And as soon as you don't do that, as soon as you let them settle back into things and get back into their rhythm a few minutes later and just sit back, then obviously they're going to go, and ultimately they ended up getting the third goal and winning it comfortably anyway. So what was the point in not taking that risk? It's just ludicrous.
It's also like, I don't look again. You bought Fred, okay, and I'm not like, I don't know if he would change the tide of this match, but so you need a goal, okay. So so like you're chasing the game, right? You naturally would be wanting to press higher. So why do you leave Fellaini and Matic on, especially Matic, who we need to talk about just being awful, which we'll get to, but like he was so bad throughout this entire match that it just boggles my mind that you could watch that and be like, well, he needs to stay on because fuck if I know the reason. And he stays on, doesn't do anything, eventually is basically the reason we gave up the third goal. And it's like, you need to press. You need to get somebody who's going to play passes between the lines, who's going to try to create chances. And, like, I understand he brought in Mata and Sanchez, but that match, like, you cannot, I don't think you can beat City with just two dedicated midfielders in the middle of the pitch. And if you can, those two are definitely not Matic and Fellaini. It's just like the lack of athleticism as soon as Mata came on. And this isn't a knock on Mata, because I think he does, he especially off the bench, I really like what he brings to the table. I think he does add something to our ability to control possession in certain matches.
Guardiola would love him, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Guardiola would love him.
But this was just not the situation for him to come in, and especially not with this team. And it just, I just, like, you spent, presumably he has talked about Mourinho, like, this isn't a signing that was forced on him. He has openly talked about how he wanted Fred because he wanted to become a more possession-oriented side and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And it's like, you have to give the guys, like, he can't complain about the board not backing him if he's not even going to play the guys that they did back him on. Like, if he's not even going to give Fred a chance, and he doesn't need to start him, but in that situation, in that match, I think that would have been a pretty good time to bring him on.
Yeah, some energy in midfield, like you say. Just, if nothing else, he's definitely ready to work around, close down. And yeah, I agree with you at that point. I honestly think that he brought in Mata in the hope that we get a free kick somewhere around the box, given what he's pulled out in the last few matches. Yeah. That was probably one of the main reasons to throw him in there at that point. And yeah, I agree with you as well. Matic takes a lot of the blame for that third goal. And in general, there's some rumours now going around that quite a lot of the dressing room is not happy about how loyal Mourinho's been to Matic and that he's playing every game despite not being in form. And we've already talked about this last time, right? That I think we all said ourselves he needs a rest. Don't know why he's playing every single game.
Even against Juventus, some of the chance that Khedira missed, that was Matic. He stopped tracking him. And like he does this in so many matches. I think Ryan Baldy, you've had him on the pod before, and he wrote an article this week about it, about how Matic just does not track runners, and like he is not having any defensive impact. All his interceptions, his tackles, all of those have dropped this year. And it's like I actually do think that there's a chance he's just tired and been rushed back from injury and needs a rest, and that if he gets a rest he'll be better. But like, it doesn't really matter what the reason is right now, because his form is dictating that he should not play. And you have options. They may not be the ideal options. They may not be the ones you're most comfortable with, but you do have alternatives. And if you're not willing to use the alternatives, that's your fault. That's your problem. And that's, quite frankly, that's directly on you. I mean,
I think a few weeks ago when Herrera and Fellaini were injured, you could kind of understand it. But at the moment, with them back there, I mean, there's even, McTominay, who went from apparently being our best defender to nowhere near the squad in the space of a few weeks.
Our best player, the manager's player of the year.
Exactly.
I don't know. In the squad.
Now, yeah, he doesn't even deserve a place on the bench anymore.
One thing that I wanted to bring up was obviously last week we had a fairly lengthy and I'd probably say passionate even discussion around whether there's been an effort by Mourinho this year to turn things around and to turn the heat up in an attacking sense and to shift our approach. And I think Ed and me sort of lie on the side that there's been no evidence of that, and I know you two really feel that way. And one of the games that we always point to, or that was a big part of that, was Tottenham, right? The game against Tottenham where we lost 3-0, but the fans were still behind him, and that showed to Mourinho that the United fans will back a team where there is at least that desire and that try, that go and have a go, and that trying attitude. I don't think no United fans expected us to win this game, and I think very few would sort of have hopes of maybe like people would have had hopes for a draw, but few would have expected a win or anything more. All that people really wanted to see was some effort, some chances created, some.
Yeah, I agree with that. This was the first one this season where it felt a bit like last season, where you just
no ambition at all.
Yeah,
no ambition, absolutely none. And if you lose either way, like that's the thing, like Mourinho being pragmatic and whatnot, I think that there's more than a place for that in football, but ultimately it has to be backed up by results. You cannot play in that manner without getting the win.
Yeah, I mean, I had said pre-match that, this is the one, I said it slightly tongue-in-cheek, but even I was kind of saying it, what I actually felt, that, I don't even mind if we park the bus in this one. But if you park the bus, have 35% possession and then lose 3-1, then yeah, it's obviously pointless. You've not parked the bus very well, right?
It's kind of funny to me because I think it would have been more reasonable to park the bus against Juve, because you had
away in Europe.
Yeah, and you have your full side. You can kind of like see how Pogba would fit in on the counter, and there's this pressure on you because you do have your full side to get a result. There's more of pressure on you. Whereas against City, it was like, okay, I mean, like we said, as soon as Pogba was out, I was pretty confident that we were not going to get a result. So, and I think most United supporters would have said the same. Like, without Pogba, getting a result is going to be, if not impossible, extremely difficult.
Yeah, it's a good point. I do wonder if Pogba had been fit, how would what would our setup have been? Would it all have been completely different, or has he totally rearranged the side because of that?
I think he would have just come in for Fellaini or Herrera, and that would have been.
No, it'd have been the same, but Fellaini would be on the bench.
Yeah, and because he basically said that, right? Because he said City are lucky that we didn't have Fellaini, which another absurd thing. I can't even believe he said it.
Yeah, he did say that.
Like
right,
that. Yeah, so that's probably
the bemoaning not being able to bring Fellaini on as an impact substitute.
But like he could have done that, which is why it's so frustrating. It's not like he only had 3 midfield players and that was it. He had Fred could have played, Pereira could have played, even McTominay could have played.
Or just shift how Fellaini's playing. You can change the game without actually having to bring a player on. You can tell the team to move to a different formation and Fellaini to move up the pitch and for us to shift the play to the left hand side or to try the diagonal ball. Like there are ways of having that impact and going for that without needing to bring him on, because he wasn't playing in the manner that he would as an impact sub. He was playing as a deep, as a deep one of an anchor or a pivot. So I don't see that as an eligible excuse at all.
Yeah, I do always like my average player position charts, and I was actually quite surprised myself to look at the 3 of them: Herrera, Fellaini, Matic, and actually maybe it is skewed a bit because Herrera went off earlier, whereas the other 2 were on later on. But off the 3, Herrera is actually the deepest player, and Fellaini is the furthest forward. Well, like I say, it's possibly skewed by the fact that I guess late on.
Man marking Silva, right?
And Herrera was on the right, and Young was having a dire game. Young was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, he was struggling. He gave the ball away. Like I say, Silva was having a field day. Yeah, Herrera's not covered himself in glory at all.
But Herrera was just shocking in possession. I could not even believe.
And I think we all had kind of talked him up quite the week before. So yeah.
And he was good against Juve. He was good against Juve too. I thought he had a good match. I'm not saying he was amazing, but he at least held on to possession when we had possession.
I think for Herrera, it was more in the early stages of the first half. It was just a bad day at the office for Herrera.
I just think I know Herrera's a diligent player, but man marking Hazard and man marking Silva are two completely different jobs. Like Silva is one of the most intelligent players going, and he can have such a drastic impact on the play wherever he is on the pitch, both on and off the ball. Whereas as Hazard, he needs the ball to be played into his feet in the middle in space where he can turn and he can run at you, and that's you can man mark that. But a player like Silva who's running in between the lines and whatnot, it's you you can't do that. And I think he was basically set up to fail, if I'm being honest, in that role. And it's really depressing to compare the sort of trajectory of Mata and Silva's careers, because when just before Mourinho got to Chelsea, Mata had obviously won Chelsea Player of the Season 2 years in a row. They'd won the Champions League and the Europa, and he had that like 30 assist season, and however many goals it was, like 15 goals as well in that season where they played a shitload of games. And they were genuinely players of equal ability. Mata was essentially just a more direct version, and Silva was perhaps a safer but maybe slightly cannier operator. And now Silva's so direct and getting so many goals and getting into all these fantastic positions. And like I say, if Mata was in that City team, or hadn't moved to United and played under the managers he'd had, like it's an absolute waste of talent. The games he's played for United, the positions he's been in, the tactics that he's been under, the roles that he's been given, because he was a genuinely like world class talent and absolutely fantastic in terms of footballing ability, intelligence, and we just haven't seen that, and that's definitely not a lack of application on his part or anything like that either.
No, he's actually done really well being, played out on the right and things like that, which is not his position.
And he's never
complained.
He's
done about as well as can be expected.
He's never complained about it either.
Between him and Silva, perhaps, is Silva's got that little bit extra pace, though.
Yeah,
which
definitely
might help getting into those sort of.
Yeah, but Matt, if you watch a reel of Mata at Chelsea, he is absolutely tearing it up. Both. But even in terms of getting in between the lines, getting behind. Like, in fairness, how many times does he make those runs for United, but he's flagged offside because we don't play the ball quick enough to him? Like he's constantly running behind. Like he's got the movement, but he needs the players to have the vision and to make that pass. And he's just never really had that at United.
I think we need more Matiches on the side, guys that just hold onto the ball for 30 seconds for doing anything with it.
Before pinging out a sideways pass for a throw.
Fellaini was the only one in that midfield who came out with any sort of respect, really.
There's always this idea that if he played well, that means that he just looked like he played well because everybody else played bad. But I genuinely thought, he actually was winning challenges higher up the pitch. I think if you look at the heat maps, he was the highest of the three midfielders. So he was actually winning balls in useful areas. Like he was actually challenging City. He was threatening their build-up. And I do think that if we had a little bit more energy and just kind of verve in midfield, which was not what Matic provided. And even like Herrera, he didn't have a good game, but he always gives you like that energy and pressing, and he's willing to, he's able to do that. And Matic isn't, and it was just so demoralizing because I actually did think that like Fellaini genuinely had a good match, even when he was getting pressed in our own half. He seemed pretty comfortable.
Pretty much always does.
Yeah,
I think me and you had this conversation before the game started. Like, I think in the last 12 to 18 months, he's become one of our most dependable players. Like, he's obviously got his limitations and he's obviously got his advantages too. But just in terms of dependable in tackling, in defensive positioning, in even pressing at times, and these days not giving stupid fouls away, but also even on the ball and the ability to retain possession. I actually think that he's one of our most consistent and dependable players now.
He doesn't piss himself, which is more than I can say for half the players in the squad. Like he actually shows for the ball. He's not hiding and trying to just, and like sure, when he gets the ball, he's not going to play some amazing creative pass. But the thing is, like, and this is what bugs me about Matic more than the fact that he doesn't play any unlocking, like defense unlocking passes.
He doesn't hold it.
It's exactly. He gets the ball 1-2 touch max. plays it on to somebody else, right? Like, and just keep if you just keep things ticking over, that has value more than like is Matic better on the ball? Yeah, like he can definitely, even in this match he had this little like feint and glided past two guys, but okay, you glided past two guys. Now what do you do with the ball? Nothing productive. Like you're not doing anything with that, so why do I care that you can do that? It's irrelevant. If Pogba can do that, and when he does it, he's able to play like through balls and create chances. So you're okay with him taking those risks, and you're okay with some of the deficiencies in his game because you know what he can create. Whereas with Matic now, he's not creating anything going forward, but he's also has zero value in in your defensive phase. So he's really just doing nothing for you at all out there. Whereas Fellaini is at least he's solid defensively, and when he gets the ball deep in his half, again he's just going to immediately play a quick pass. He's not going to hold on to it and try and show off, whatever it is that Matic tries to show off.
Yeah, no, look, I think we definitely slagged off Matic enough for a couple of shows, but he deserves it. But yeah,
I needed to get that off my chest.
Yeah, well worth it.
You seem quite angry about him, to be honest, Ashwin.
Look, he does deserve it. I think we'd even had that question from some of the listeners saying, yeah, we need to talk about Matic, what the hell's going on there? So yeah, we've covered it good and proper now. But yeah, look, these are the difficult days. Like I've been, definitely on this podcast, the biggest supporter of keeping hold of Jose, but when you get these kind of performances and how far we are away from City, it is difficult. I mean, it did actually remind me that I've probably mentioned about 20 times that I went to see my all-time hero Eric Cantona in one of his Return of the King an evening with a couple of weeks ago, and he was asked about Jose, asked about Pep, and I think these quotes have been mentioned before, but yeah, actually seeing him talk about that, where he basically talked about how when he was a youngster, Johan Cruyff was his all-time hero, and that this was a guy who revolutionized the game as a player and a manager. And then he then talked about Guardiola as being the spirit of Cruyff and bringing that kind of style, obviously from Barcelona and now bringing it to the Premier League, and how he, believed that, he should have been the one who became our manager. He wasn't actually negative about Mourinho. He said he really liked him and that now that he's here, we should stick with him and that he thinks we can still be successful and that we already have been successful and won a few things with Mourinho, but that it was the wrong choice at that time. He did also say another interesting thing that I'm kind of more and more starting to agree with, and maybe I didn't at the time, that he said he can't believe that in these times that, our managerial job has been up for grabs 3 times, that we haven't given it to an ex-player. That whereas you see these other clubs like Barca's and Bayern's, I think I don't want to. Maybe it's not the right time to get into that deep discussion now because we've already chatted quite a lot. But it's definitely something we will talk about. But yeah, that was his view. That he said, at this point, United.
Was he angling for the job there?
well, he said it quite clearly. He said, if I'm offered it, I'm ready to take it. And of course, the crowd lapped that up. Yeah.
I remember him saying he would never manage United if the Glazers were in charge. Owned it still.
Yeah, I think he's also. I don't think he's ever done his coaching badges or anything. I think he thinks he said, "Look, I'm Cantona. I don't need badges, whatever. Yeah, just give me the fucking job, right?"
He basically just said it's the wrong fit, right? It's not that it's not about the right man. It's just the right manager for the wrong club sort of thing. And I think that's true. We've always said that Chelsea, Mourinho can be pragmatic, and they don't have that rich history of attacking or gung-ho.
And Mourinho's even said that himself when he first came in. He even said that himself, that I understand that this club is different, the history is different, and that's why I had kind of that hope at the time. And then I think it's 2 years in. I think maybe he has realised that, but then you kind of say, well, maybe you should have been doing that from the start. Then
it's one of them where, to be honest, whether he's realised or not, what he's doing isn't good enough. Like, it doesn't really matter if his intentions are now good. He's left it too late, and he seemingly has no clue. And that's that's with a changing coaches and whatnot as well, which you'd hope maybe would bridge that gap somewhat. But he clearly isn't able to get the best out of a team if they're not playing in the manner that he's blueprinted over. And I think that's probably the 3rd or 4th time I've used that word, but that he's managed and styled his coaching on for the 15 years that he's been a top class manager. Like, there's no reason that we should expect that he can be successful running a club in a completely different manner than he has traditionally. There's no reason that that would work. All managers are stubborn, and all managers play how they think. And Guardiola isn't going to go to a club and change the way that he wants to play football. That's why these coaches are successful, right?
No, yeah, agree with that. And I mean, looking as well at slightly, all right, quite depressing what we're talking about at the moment. But if somebody had told me, when we recorded last week that you're going to go away in Turin, go away Manchester City, and that, yeah, you can win one of those games and lose one of them, I would have happily taken that. And, I can even remember years and years and back, in the Manchester derby, even when City were shit, we still used to lose there now and again.
Yeah.
And I remember going even under Fergie not too long ago and only having like one shot on target or something and being totally outplayed.
But does that not speak? Does that not speak to like the fact that City could beat us, but then like one of the things I keep thinking is that we're going to City and they're embarrassing us. They're not even getting out of second gear, and yeah, it's like men against boys. But then Brighton come to United and beat us. Like I was saying earlier, is the gap between us and the bottom bigger than the gap between us and the top?
Well, and Mourinho was asked that kind of question in his post-match, and he batted it away. Basically, he wasn't impressed by that question at all because they pointed out that I think we were like closer to Cardiff City at the moment than Manchester City or something in points.
Oh, and he said something like stats for people who don't understand football. And
well,
then
he
next,
said
next,
to
next
that
week
that
when
well,
we...
I don't think we're going to get relegated. And
yeah, okay. We're also not going to win the league, so.
City have a goal difference of 31. United have a goal difference of -1. Wolves, number 11, 16 points, 4 points behind us. Goal difference -1.
Yeah, no, look, at the moment, the biggest issue, of course, is our defence and how many goals we've conceded this year.
It's not, though. It's our scoring as well.
No, but I mean, the difference from last season has been the defence, where we were still defensively solid, at least, even if we weren't great attacking wise.
Last season, we were 4-0 FC for about 3.
Yeah, but that was early on. Whatever.
But De Gea was just ridiculous last year. I don't even think we were that good defensively last year, and that's why he wanted a center back so bad. Is because he knew we weren't actually that good.
Well, I think that's what we talked about. That he set up more defensively, double defensive midfielders, and protected what he saw as a weakness. And that's what when we did have a great defensive record from stats wise. Whereas this season, it's only the likes of Fulham who've sacked their manager today, Huddersfield, and I don't know, maybe Palace who are coming up who has conceded more than us this year.
I can't believe Fulham beat us to Ranieri's signing.
Yeah, I know.
If we want someone with title-winning experience, right?
Yeah, that'll actually be another manager to add in. A few weeks ago, Mourinho talked about the fact that he'd won as many Premier Leagues as all the managers in the rest of the Premier League. But Ranieri's now going to push that stat the other way as being a Premier League winning manager. So yeah, he's back in there. But yeah, look, maybe we should look forward now and see what our next matches are after this international break is over. I mean, yeah, we've got a kind of run going up to Christmas. Crystal Palace at home coming up first. And yeah, the Palace are in absolutely awful form. So surely this is a home banker, right? I mean, I think they've lost 5 out of their last 6 matches. We've beaten them the last 6 times we've played them. So yeah.
Zaha's playing well, though.
Well, I think he was actually injured last game, which is why they had absolutely nothing.
Oh, is he?
Didn't we say this after the first international break that we've now got a pretty easy run when we had like Wolves, Derby, Newcastle?
Yeah.
Well, we had an easy run right at the start of the season. Yeah, we said that. I remember saying right at the start, we've got such a easy run that even though maybe some of our players have been away at the World Cup and all, it should be fine. But
that's what I'm saying though. Like, yeah, we've got an easy run coming up, but is it actually easy or is it just easy on paper?
Well, look, we've got Crystal Palace first up. 2 home games, then young boys, those 2 have got to be must wins, right? Then we go away to Southampton, who are also struggling. Then we do actually have Arsenal coming, who've been in semi decent form recently.
That's 3 points.
I don't understand how they can be doing semi-decent when they had Wenger for 20 years and then they've got a new where's the 3-year philosophy that needs to...
No, look, this is exactly... we talked about this on the last one, that, these other clubs are bringing in managers and making immediate impacts, whereas we always think we need to...
You can understand or excuse it when it's Chelsea who swap managers every 2 years, but when it's a club who had someone who was genuinely running the club, like Wenger was, similar to Fergie, he was much more than just a coach, he was the general manager of how everything and all the processes and the recruitment structure, everything was done.
In fairness, the difference, or one big difference, and this is why we need to get a director of football or a technical director or whatever, is that last year they had already appointed Mislintat as their director of football, and all their signings, if you look at them, seem like they were, since his appointment, seem like they were streamlined in a specific direction. You know, he brought in Aubameyang, he brought in all the guys this summer, and he appointed the manager. So it's safe to assume to a degree that Emery and him are on the same page, have an understanding of how they want to play, what players he wants, what players he needs, the characteristics, if not the specific players, and there's an understanding there. Whereas we don't have there's no overarching philosophy in anything that we do. It's like we went from, Ferguson to Moyes to like this high, super heavy possession football, but not create anything under LVG, to whatever the hell we're trying to do with Mourinho.
I mean, this is the point I was making. Like, it was a
Yeah.
an ironic rhetorical question. I'm saying, why is it that they're doing it? Because clearly it's...
Yeah, but I'm still pretty surprised though. Like, I still thought that Arsenal would be struggling a lot more this season after all that. How long Wenger had been there and big change after. I'm surprised that they're doing as well as they are. And yeah, that is going to be a 6-pointer for us playing them at home. We have to win that game if we have any chance of getting into that top 4 tussle.
Who what? Arsenal or Crystal Palace?
No, I'm talking about
Both.
Yeah, they're all 6-pointers in that relegation battle. Yeah, making sure we keep further away from Cardiff City. But yeah, to be fair, I'm talking about this Arsenal game. But yeah, we have got 3 matches before that. But yeah, the other game after that Arsenal game is another home match against Fulham. So yeah, our next 4 are at home before we then have a really difficult week of Valencia and Liverpool away, before we hit that crazy Christmas period when we play like 4 matches in the space of like 10 days or something. So yeah, and I do just want to ask this question here of all of you, and we'll keep a record of it and see where we're at. So I want to say, where do you think we're going to be in the league at the end of the year? January 1st, what do you think our league position is going to be? So yeah, I'll start with you, Alex.
6th.
All right, noting it down, Alex. 6th. Ed?
5th.
5th. Ashwin?
4th.
All right. Ashwin's feeling optimistic. At the moment, I was just looking at the odds today. We're currently 4-1 to finish in the top 4, and
Wow.
I've put 10 quid on it today.
We were 7-1 to beat City, by the way. Can you believe that?
No, I hadn't seen that. Are you sure? At the start of the game?
Yeah. Well, no, like a few days before the game, we were 7-1 to beat them. And I'm thinking, I'm sure that in most previous season we'd have shorter odds to win the fucking league than to win one game of football.
I'll be surprised if it was that long. You sure about that? It wasn't some special odds or
Sure it
something?
was. Well, it maybe. I don't think so though, but maybe.
I don't.
Maybe they knew that Pogba was going to be out.
Could be. But yeah, all right. I'm gonna go with Ashwin and say we're gonna finish the year in the top 4 after wins against
Fair play,
Liverpool, Arsenal. Mourinho's gonna bring his big games out there.
Team optimism.
I was gonna say 7th and tried to be positive.
Yeah.
So yeah, fair enough. Did you see? I mean, this is one of those more pointless stats, but in the 8 seasons that Mourinho's been in the Premier League or whatever it is now, he's basically finished in the same position after 12 weeks as at 38 games.
Okay, I hadn't
at
seen
the end
that
of the
one.
season.
Interesting.
So we're 8th at the moment, right? So as history would suggest, and the fallacy of tradition, of course, but as history would suggest, we're likely to finish 8th.
Yeah, well, I say the bookies at the moment. The bookies have got us finishing the season in 5th. Like I say, behind Spurs and ahead of Arsenal, because I've been looking at it in detail today. But I mean, yeah, like I say, first up at least, Crystal Palace. Surely there's no chance of anything apart from a decent win there. There's no Ed. You mentioned Zaha. I think was it you, Ed, who talked earlier in the season about Zaha being the one that got away and that we should have kept hold of him.
I've definitely mentioned it before, so possibly yes.
Yeah.
I would buy him now. I think.
Yeah, I would.
I actually like, as much as I don't know what Mourinho's trying to accomplish. I'm almost positive that a player that, like, the thing with Zaha is you can give him the ball 30 yards from your own goal and he'll somehow manage to dribble past like 5 guys and get it, by the opposition box. He's just that kind of player. And like we don't have even Martial. Like he's a really good dribbler, but I don't think he has that in him to like carry the ball consistently 50, 60 yards, and that's all Zaha does for Palace. Is take on like 15 defenders on every single play, and advance the ball 40 yards or whatever. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I would love to have
I
Zaha
think with
back.
Zaha, he was one of those players who just maybe came to us a bit too young and he wasn't ready for that move.
Absolutely.
And now maybe he
that's
is ready
working under
for that
Fergie
kind
as
of move
well.
to move to a Champions League club. I do still think that he's also a player that maybe beats a player once, can put a ball in, and decides to beat him twice more again for no reason. And that is something in his game. But yeah, he is Palace's best player by far, and as soon as he's out, as
Is he the captain?
he was the other day, don't think so.
He's the most fouled player in the league with Hazard, which, considering how much Crystal Palace have the ball,
That's impressive.
Is impressive. Yeah, he just gets hacked down all game. He's just kicked all game long.
He's just so direct. You can see how uncomfortable defenders are when they're facing him.
I agree with Nick that he came too early, but I do wonder if Ferguson stays, like I would have been so interested to see what Fergie did with him, because he could have been a Fergie dream. He could have also been a nightmare for Fergie as well, and I think Fergie could go both ways on that sort of player.
Yeah.
We saw players where it worked really well and players where it didn't, but there definitely could have been the potential there for him to have been something special under Fergie.
I think next season he will be at a top club, whether it's us or not.
Well, it was linked a lot with moving to Tottenham in the summer, but I think Tottenham had no money this summer because of their stadium and whatnot. But yeah, might still happen. I mean, yeah, Palace at the moment can't buy a goal. I think they've only scored like 2 or 3 goals in the last 6 matches.
They haven't won since September.
Yeah, no, like I said, they've lost like 5 out of their last 6 matches.
Well, there you go. That's they'll end that one, won't they?
Yeah. We
had Newcastle coming with a similar kind of record recently.
Exactly.
Haven't scored in weeks, no hopers, and they were 2-0 up by half time.
I just like one of these supposedly routine wins to be a routine, but also to be a ruthless 4-5-0 like we see other teams doing, because it won't be.
Well, we did do it last season, as Ed mentioned, we had those 4-0s.
Yeah. But was it something like, since the last time United scored 5 goals, City have done it 27 times or something?
It was, some crazy stat about that for sure.
Yeah.
Infinity times.
But yeah, look, Palace is the one then. Yeah, Palace is the one where we're going to get a sack full.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a 1-0 or 2-1, and Fellaini's going to play as a centre back who off the ball and a deep midfielder on the ball, and it's going to be like that Burnley game we had earlier in the year, Burnley and Watford. It'll be one of those sort of games, I think.
He's got Marcus Rashford up with him, and Rashford's in, and Rashford can seal it. Oh, big save by Szczesny, corner.
I just wanted to mention the Rashford discussion from earlier, in that I sort of see where Alex is coming from, in that possibly a loan might do him some good, but I think a loan in England is just a demotion. So I
guess I more meant like an Everton who don't have a striker right now, but they're competitive and they've got a good manager who's proven to work well with young players like Richarlison. Like there are just a few like fits out there where I think, you know what, that could potentially work out really well.
I think it would have to come from Rashford himself, though. Otherwise, it's just going to get his nose out of joint, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I
think that's fair. Yeah.
Like I say, I don't even know why we're discussing this. I think it's a ridiculous notion.
We should just hire Silva.
No, it's not, because it's not about whether he will or not. It's about what's the best for his development. And ultimately,
I do agree that maybe 2 years ago it would have been worthwhile in his development, but now it won't. He'll just say that if he leaves our club now, he's not coming back. There's no way.
But that's pure. But no offense, Nick. But that's pure just speculation based on nothing. Like, there's no evidence to suggest that, because there are plenty of players who are going on loan at 21, 22, 23.
Not after having been part of the matchday squad, like, and an integral part of the team for 2 or 3 years. There isn't anybody.
He's an international.
Okay, but is there anyone who's been an integral part of the team from that age who's then gone on to be a top striker in recent years.
No, but
Tell
there
me
isn't
someone.
players who are integral parts of the squad
Exactly.
after
So you
2 or
can't-
3 years
but
and then
but
go
you
on loan.
can't-
It doesn't happen.
You can't argue with me that that never happens. When also what never happens is someone achieving their potential by doing it. Either way, it's not happening. And what I'm saying is that
No, I mean
I'm
we
really
have had
concerned for
players
his
who
development.
we have had players who didn't go out on loan in the past.
I don't think Rashford's going to reach his ceiling. I think he'll be.
Yeah.
I think he'll be a good player and nothing more, and not because he hasn't got the potential, but because
well, for me, it's because he
managers
doesn't get
we've
played
got,
in
the
the right
players we've-
position. And yeah, maybe
Yeah,
he
but
will
is
have
that
to
gonna
go.
change?
We will have to move on from us to play in the right position week in,
But
week
then-
out.
What I think what Alex is saying is to prevent that, why have him move on from us? Let him go on loan for a season, possibly in Europe, possibly to a team where he could be good, and prevent him having to leave United.
But I don't understand how that prevents him. If he leaves and then he does well in the striking position, then what? You think he's going to come back and play striker for us? He can do it right now. He's already there.
That
He's-
happens all the time.
he-
Players leave
It doesn't
big clubs.
happen after
and
players have been in the matchday squad for
Players
years.
leave big clubs and then end up at other big clubs after proving themselves at somewhere smaller.
Morata.
That happens all the time.
What about Morata?
Lukaku, Jordi Alba, Salah, De Bruyne. There are countless examples of players who were part of a large club, didn't quite make it, left because the club weren't willing to send them out on loan, and then they've proved themselves at a smaller club, an Everton, a Wolfsburg, whoever, Valencia, if it
Yeah,
was
but they
Jordi
don't go
Alba or
back to
whatever
the
he
club
was.
they
And then,
came from.
No, but
well,
isn't
Jordi Alba
well, that-
did. Sometimes
doesn't
they do. Sometimes they do. Morata went back to Real
Madrid
Madrid.
Madrid
Jordi
does
Alba
this
went
with a
back
lot
to
of guys, right? Where they
Barcelona.
send them on like a 2-year loan, and then they'll like I think they did that with Carvajal too. They sent him to Wolfsburg, or if then it's not a 2-year loan, it's like they negotiate a
Yeah, they
very
do
small
that early on. They
buyback.
don't do it after they've been playing week in, week out for 3 years.
No, I mean, yeah, I agree.
Well,
The timing is.
That's what I just don't understand why it's even being discussed. It's never happened and it's never going to happen.
Because on a personal level, for Rashford, it might be the best thing for him in his career, as opposed to what's best for United.
That's a totally different discussion. Where are you?
But-
I
but
thought
that-
I think it's
Alex
better
is saying
for
he can go
Rashford. I'm
away and
better
come
than
back to United. Yeah,
I
I
think it's
said
better
that.
for-
I've said that already. It might be better for Rashford to go elsewhere where he can play
I
up
think it's
front,
better
but he's
for
never going to
United.
come
Yeah,
back
but
to
do it
us
on
and do
loan.
it. No
Wait.
way.
It could,
Why not? It happens all the time.
Well, it does. We just went through and said it's never happened.
I've just mentioned about 5 players who did it.
Who did it? Who went back to the club they went from?
Eto, Jordi Alba, PK.
What,
PK
they-
came to United, went back to
That's
Barcelona.
not the same.
Fabregas,
PK's come to
yeah.
United
Fabregas
when
went
he's
to Arsenal,
16,
went back to
15, 16
Barcelona.
years old. He's not come when he's 21 years old.
Pogba,
21's still young.
Paul Pogba.
21's still young. Like Harry Kane's 23
None of
when
these
he was
are examples of a
team.
club sending a player out on loan after
Lukaku?
being an integral part of the
Lukaku-
club and him coming back and him actually doing well. None of
Lukaku
them.
very almost
But-
went back to Chelsea.
Which one? Who?
What is Rashford?
Lukaku almost went back to Chelsea. The fact that they
Lukaku
don't
has
go
not
back to
come
the
back
club
to
is
Chelsea,
because
and he's
the
not
fact
gone on
that they
loan
don't
out.
go-
It was a
hold on,
permanent
hold on,
move
hold on.
to
The
like
fact- the
Everton or
fact-
whatever in the meantime. There
What's
isn't
the
one
relevance of
player
whether they go
ever
back
that
to
this
the
has
same
ever
club?
happened with. Not one.
But
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there is every chance that Rashford leaves us, performs well at a smaller club, and then goes to one of our rivals.
That's
We
not
could
what you were
avoid that
saying.
by
You were
just sending
saying
him
that
on
he
loan.
should go away from us, have a loan away, and then he can come back to us. That's a
Yeah.
totally different discussion.
can you honestly say that Rashford is an integral part of our team at the moment?
Yes. Off the squad.
Disagree.
Off the squad. He plays as much as anybody. Jose always throws those minutes out about how many times he plays. But he doesn't play in the right position. That's what I say. That is my issue.
I think he is playing in his best position at the moment.
What do you mean by that?
I don't think he's a central striker at the moment.
What do you mean by at the moment?
Well, he's played as a central striker recently, anyway, Nick.
Well,
Yeah, he's
He
never
played there
had a
against
run of
City
a
and he
few
played there
games like,
against Bournemouth.
He played there against Juve,
Well,
and he missed a
whoever
chance
was
right at the
before
end.
in the Thierry Henry started out on the wing, then came in as a central striker. I don't think Rashford has it in him to lead a line effectively on his own.
No, well, I don't agree with that at all. Just think, he's not given the chance to make that position.
I just think that'll always be the excuse. He wasn't given the chance, and that's why he hasn't succeeded.
Yeah.
If we consider just because it doesn't happen doesn't mean we shouldn't consider doing it. There's no reason that we should be following in the same mold as everyone else. If it makes sense for the club and makes sense for the player, then it should be considered, and I think it should be. I think it's the best for all parties.
I think it's the stupidest thing you've ever recommended.
Okay, fair enough. I've definitely made with recommendations.
And I think, unless anybody else wants to keep talking for another half hour about Marcus Rashford,
Well,
I think that's going to be it for this week, right?
at least I've topped Valencia being the worst ever player ever to be seen ever. So there we go.
You agreed with me. No one agreed with you.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
We don't get enough comments in the thread, so I want as many of you will listen who know we're on Redcalf to get on the calf and to tell us what you think of Rashford. I'm not anyway, yeah. And for those who aren't on the calf on Twitter or wherever else, because I'd be keen to know if there are many who agree that actually, whether it happens or not, whether it could actually be the best option all round.
Maybe we should create
The best
a thread.
option for him.
Why don't we create a thread
that
on
may
Red
well
Cafe
be.
with a poll?
We'll do a poll.
Do a poll.
What's the poll going to be?
Don't know.
Is this the stupidest
you
idea?
changed this discussion halfway through.
Is this my worst recommendation?
I tried to shut down this Rashford discussion twice, but it kept coming back again. But yeah, all right, boys. I think that's enough for now.
I just think someone like Everton or similar.
The end. Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.